Thanks so much, Shumak. Now we continue our discussion with Dr. Mamphela Ramphela, the Agang leader, talking about delivering her keynote address. This is at the opening of the African Education Week later today, and also most importantly, the launch of the political party this coming Saturday. Now, before we let go of Professor Txsnr Maluleke, the question was, do you have adequate infrastructure to convincingly contest the 2014 elections?
We have been building the infrastructure since February. We've got a campaign team under Txsnr Solomons, and we are building a political leadership under Mwiketsi Musola. And these are people who are going to make sure that we put together a credible, scientifically run campaign. We have the foot soldiers that Dinoko was asking about. At the end of the first week of announcing Agang the platform, we had more than 5,000 volunteers. As we speak right now, we are going towards 15,000 volunteers. We have not yet started registering members because we're waiting for the IEC registration, which we are hoping to get in the next few days. But you will see on Saturday, we have people coming to the launch from Limpopo, from the Eastern Cape, Western Cape. Everywhere people want to be part of Agang. We have built a formidable digital platform which is going to work on the dumbest cell phone. So you can sit in Duba and be able to register to be a member of Agang from there.
I want to talk about the level at which the proposal or value proposition is pitched, because you are an academic. Yes, you are a struggle stalwart. Yes, you are reputable in the various work you've done around the globe, in the intellectual think tanks that you influence as well. So when we say the bulk of the voters in this country are below the breadline, are not well educated, how then can you say that you're in tune with what their needs are?
I was born and bred in a rural village. And after the launch of the platform, I went back to my rural village. I have no difficulties talking to people in Bochum. I have no difficulties talking to people in Linyenye. People forget that I was an activist. I was a medical doctor working amongst poor people. I was a researcher working with poor people in migrant labor hostels. I've never lost touch with ordinary people. And you will see, if you go on our website and see where I've been, and the listening tour puts pay to this whole question that Mamphela is an academic. Mamphela is a citizen and is a rural woman, and Mamphela can speak many languages, and that's why we chose the name Agang. And everywhere we've been, people say 20 years is too long to wait for decent education for their children, a job for their loved ones, and good health care. People talk in the same way and they have the same aspirations as you and I. They put it in very plain language. It cannot be that we are waiting for 2019. They are saying now is the time. It is possible to change now.
All right, I don't want to labor the point of whether apartheid is still relevant. And yes, we need to have an active and reformed public sector that is efficient. But just marking the Native Lands Act, the centenary thereof, and the reference that, yes, the legacy of apartheid and the architects of apartheid can still rejoice because we're seeing the ramifications thereof. So 20 years, can we say in earnest that is enough to undo the 300 years of slavery and colonialism and apartheid on top of that?
We have to acknowledge that the legacy that we inherited is a tough legacy. But if you buy a company that is failing, you can't ask for more than 20 years to turn it around because you'll go bankrupt. And that applies to us. We have had 20 years to be able to implement the plans and the aspirations with regard to land reform, changing the education system, changing the healthcare system, changing the policing service. We have started. We started with a police service. We deliberately went back to a police force. That is not apartheid. We went back and departed from the values of our constitution, which said we should have a police service. And we shouldn't be surprised that we have the brutality that showed up in Marikana, in all of these areas like Vicksburg. We have obviously a tough legacy to undo, but we have also scored our own goals because we haven't had the professionalism in public service to be able to do a credible turnaround in terms of the things that matter for South Africa.
Yeah, but let's talk about productive commercial land, because the whole issue around expropriation of land with no compensation, which is the buzz phrase these days, we know that the willing seller, willing buyer approach wasn't working. There's also the conventional belief that CODESA, with the negotiations prior our democracy in '94, had been the basis of why we are unable to turn around the South African economy, and especially include the majority of black people, because we pussyfoot around the issue. Industry is protected to a large extent. Our monetary policies, foreign policies, seem to protect business more so than what it does with dealing with the issues of inequality.
I don't believe that we can lay the growing inequality and the failure of the healthcare system, the education system, on the doorstep of CODESA. We've got to be adult enough at 20 years of age as a democracy to say that we have had enough time to be able to do the right thing. Let's take your land issue. The president has just announced that of the 30% target that they set, 29% has been achieved. But you go and see what is actually happening to that land that has been transferred to people in the restitution process. The failure to provide basic capital, basic expertise to help people to use that land productive, that's got nothing to do with apartheid. It's a failure of governance. It's a failure of having the people who know what to do to turn land into a productive resource. So we have to not put everything at the doorstep of the legacy and own the mistakes of the last 20 years. And that's what South Africa needs to do, because if you keep looking backwards instead of looking forward and saying, now that we are where we are, what do we do now? The issue of the economy is a problem which we can resolve if only we take a long-term view on it and we bring together the parties, the private sector, the government, and citizens who are implicated to say, how do we leverage this lovely resource that we have?
Okay, now we know with policy we had the Black Economic, Broad-Based Economic Act, and we had affirmative action and all sorts of other legislation that enables black people to participate in the economy. Now moving to what Agang's value proposition is and how different you're going to be in expediting your ideals. What do you have on the table?
The government's own admission is that the black economic empowerment has not managed to empower the majority of people. So what we need to be looking at is, what do we do now with the lessons of the last 19 years? And that means that we've got to go back to basics. The biggest tool of empowerment is high quality education. You and I are sitting here because we have had good education. Why is this not possible to be given to every child in this country, given the huge amount of money? We're spending more than 230 billion rand every year on education. Why are we doing worse than every African country? The only country that we are doing better than in terms of math and science is Yemen. That's got nothing to do with the legacy of apartheid. It's our failure to be able to develop and to implement education policies that really are credible for every child in this country.
Dr. Ramphela, we really appreciate your time and the extension as well. Thank you for indulging us, and good luck All the best for Saturday.
Thank you very much.
Thanks indeed. We're speaking to Dr. Mamphela Ramphela, the Agang South Africa leader, talking about the newest political formation called Agang. They'll be launching on Saturday. Let us now continue the chat on our social media. And you can, of course, visit Agang's website. That's agangsa.org.za, agangsa.org.za. We're back after this.